I am Erin Patten, metaphysical master in a millennial age, and it is my life's purpose to guide you and organizations along an enlightened path. So I invite you to sit comfortably and tune in as I welcome you to the Meta Business Millennial, where we get the real conversations you won't get in the boardroom so that we understand this is exactly the path we need to be on in order to grow, evolve, and thrive. Greetings, I am Erin Patten, also known as Master L, and welcome to the Meta Business Millennial podcast. I am just so honored to have you all with me here this Monday morning, Meta Monday morning, and it's just been such a beautiful weekend here. I live in Houston. It's just been such a beautiful weekend, a celebratory weekend. I'm just feeling the spring energy moving in, and I know you all are tuning in weekly, so if you are loving this podcast, go ahead and hit the subscribe button on the YouTube. Follow me on social media at I am Erin Patten, and like and share this video with your friends if you feel called to, because today's topic is going to be very juicy, because I feel like a lot of people are resonating with the story of who the fuck did I marry? And this has just been such a sensation. This woman has garnered millions of views in a matter of days on TikTok, with a 50-part series really going through her experience, very painful experience, mind you, of marrying a scammer. And it's interesting because, I feel like a lot of us out here have had very similar experiences, because scammers come in many forms. And essentially, it doesn't take someone having to have the elaborate, nature of Reese's partner, Legion. It could just be someone who's just not honest and not showing up in their truth. I mean, we definitely live in a catfish age. This is why, this show has proliferated for so long, because so many people are being deceived, if you will, on the internet, in person, by other folks who are just in many ways insecure and ashamed of revealing who they are. Let's just call a spade a spade. And essentially, this viral video deeply resonated with me because I also had a personal experience dating someone for an extended period of time, a long-term relationship, where there was just constantly lies, constant manipulation, and constant mind control, if you will. And I feel like both sides, both men and women, have experienced this. So this is definitely a topic that I feel like a lot of people resonate with, want to hear about, and it's particularly as business leaders, what we can learn from it and apply to our businesses, whether we're entrepreneurs, whether we're leading other businesses. And it's about making sure that we can exercise sound discernment and being able to see people who they are, and not only being able to see people for who they are, but then being able to cut them the fuck off, when we notice that there are some inconsistencies in character. And so, with that in mind, let me just start with my own personal experience, because I was sharing, how I too was in a relationship that was very similar to Reese's, which is why I was called to do this. And, when she met him, just to give y'all a quick recap of the viral video, who the fuck did I marry? She said they were together, within months. And so, when we're thinking about that, when we're getting in relationships, whether in business or in life, we definitely have to take time to get to know people. And of course, we have our instincts, we have our intuition, we have, the sparks, if you will, because I know oftentimes people fall in love quickly because they get the spark. Yet at the same time, we cannot lose our intelligence. And the same goes in business. We meet someone, this seems like a really good opportunity, we can make money quickly, but let's look at the logic of the situation. And I feel like a lot of times in the spiritual community, or in any kind of communities, we kind of move with spirit. We kind of move with the intuition. And sometimes the logic gets lost. And this has happened to me on minty occasions, okay? Being a woman, a metaphysical master, a woman that moves from my soul, I oftentimes led with my heart and kept leading with my heart and throwing away my brain. And that's not how God created us to be. God created us to be intelligent, conscious creatures so that we can use our mind in situations where our heart may be overpowering. That's when we have to come into that balance, if you will, that energetic balance of the mind, the body, and the soul. And I know this is essentially where Risa made her mistake, and I have too in many cases, because she led with her heart. She was kind of leading with that soul aspect, that soul instinct, like I need to connect with this person, but what does my mind tell me? And she said he went on to tell her things about himself and his career, and they were trying to buy houses together and build a life together, and he was always falling short. And similarly, in my experience, I've dated people too who were always going to show up, were always promising things, and were always falling short. And I was picking up the slack every time. And because I could, I'm a strong woman, I was always working, very comfortable with paying my bills. And when other people or other partners and situations weren't contributing, I felt, like I wanted to support them and help them too. And that's when I was saying, like, that heart energy, and this can show up in business too when people are working for you and you really believe in them, you really like them, they have great character, but they're not showing up and doing what you hired them to do or what you agreed to do. You have to take a second look at things. And so, I'm feeling the energy from Risa's story in my own personal life and my own business life, because this is the part that's really painful. When you've really fallen for someone, or you really believe in this deal and you really want it to work, you have your whole heart, you put blood, sweat, and tears into it. You dream about this for years, and now you feel like it's finally here, but all the pieces are not adding up. This is when you have to stop and pause. And this is the part that I feel like most people have the trouble with, which is why, Reese's has a 50-part series, because there came a moment where the things weren't adding up for her, but she still wanted it to work. And this piece is the ego. This is the ego aspect of ourselves that really, has been trained and programmed to go hard, to keep going at all costs, to the detriment of us sometimes. And this is the piece where I hope that, I'm just feeling the energy in the collective here, that people really need to hear that when we're feeling like we've kind of seen some signs, yet our heart's still in it, which way do we go? And we have to be honest with ourselves too. And this can come in many ways. This can come in journaling with yourself and talking with yourself and sitting with yourself in meditation. I'm really feeling like there are some inconsistencies in how this person is acting, whether in my relationship, whether at work, whether in a business partnership. And either I address it with them and see, like, hey, there's some inconsistencies here. You're telling me one thing, but you're showing up in another way. A lot of people are afraid of having this very honest conversation because they don't want to hear the truth. That's the thing. People don't want to know what they already know. And I know it because I've been there. Like, I want to hear that someone's going to show up. I want to hear that that person's going to be the person that they promised they were going to be, but I'm seeing differently. The actions are different. Okay. And when you see that, and when you feel that it's not lining up, you have to have that strength in yourself to let it go. Like, that's how you honor yourself. That's how you love yourself. You don't let someone continue to abuse you and lie to you. And I'm saying this from personal experience, years of dealing with it, both in personal relationships and in business, because you want to see the best in people. I know people who are tuning into this, spiritual people, loving people, empathetic people, feelers. We want to see the best in people. We want to love people through everything. And many times you can love people to the detriment of yourself. And then what kind of love is that? What kind of love is it when you are suffering to make somebody else happy? Whether in business, because it happens in business too. This just happened to me recently. We show up in love and care and concern and honor for someone who's meant to be delivering something to you and they don't, or they mess around with it, or whatever the situation would be, the thing doesn't get delivered as it's meant to be delivered. And what do you do with that? You have to be able to let it go, and let it go in a clean way, in the cleanest way possible. Because a lot of times when people are getting these situations and these feelings of betrayal and these feelings of being scammed, of being taken advantage of, the anger come out. The anger come out massively. The anger, the feelings of resentment, of sadness, of grief, of loss of what I thought this could be. And then it blows up in many ways. So in part of the process, of course, is acknowledging that this betrayal is happening. Maybe speak about it with your partner, whether in business or in relationship, romantic relationship. And then the second piece is managing your emotions around it. And maybe that's the precursor to the first part, is managing your emotions around it. Understanding that you're feeling this intense sadness, understanding that you're feeling this intense grief and betrayal. Honor that. And I feel like this too is a collective thing. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad feelings. Put it that way. Feeling the hard feelings, the painful feelings. It sucks. It hurts. I've been there many a time. I know what it's like. Yet you must allow it. That's the only way you can grow from it. The more we deny that, oh no, I'm good, I'm a player, no, I'm a boss, I'm a business, I step on shit. However you want to mask it, it doesn't make the feelings, emotions, the problems go away. Actually, it amplifies them. So you must be willing to acknowledge the emotional repercussions, if you will, that comes from the betrayal or the scam or the scammer. And when you're able to do that, then making making better decisions about who you bring into your life or who you bring into your company becomes so much more easier, because you don't want to feel that again. You don't want to. And that goes in relationships, romantic relationships, or in business. Like, you're going to be checking all your I's, dotting all your I's, crossing all your T's, making sure that everything is on point before I enter into an agreement with someone again, whether in life, in my relationships, or in business. And I'm so grateful, Risa, who had the courage to be vulnerable to talk about this, and such an extended, story about it, so that people can really start to collectively heal around around I would say dishonesty, the lack of transparency, the lack of being able to be who you are, and believe that someone can love you for who you are. That's essentially what we're seeing here. People not wanting to be seen in truth. I don't want someone to know that I don't have this going on for me. Essentially is what she met in that guy. He didn't want to reveal himself to her, because let's be real, I'm sure the feelings were mutually great. I'm sure he loved her just as much as she loved him. Let's look at the other side here. Yet there were faults in his character, cracks in his soul and his experience, that denied him the opportunity to show up in his fullest potential. And when we're seeing that in people, in life, in businesses, in relationships, we need to honor where they're at, and we need to move the fuck on. We need to move on, because then we're setting ourselves up for failure. Again, the caring for self. I posted about this yesterday about the caring for self on Instagram and Facebook, because a lot of times we're thinking, oh, self care, self love. I'm getting my massage, I'm getting my nails done, or I'm getting, my treatments, or whatever it is. The care for self also comes especially in relationships, relationships with family members, relationships with loved ones, relationships in business and business colleagues. How are you protecting yourself from harm from others? Or are you constantly bending at other people's will to make other people happy, to make that extra dollar, or to to make your partners happy, or feeling like they're going to love you more, your children even? This is not honoring and care for self. And I hope to be able to build more on this caring for self over time because it needs to be elevated. The conversation around self-care has to be elevated. You know, it's very simple, treat others how you wish to be treated. Yet most of us are not treating ourselves well. So we're, of course, not treating other people well. And when I'm saying treat yourself well, I'm talking especially about the honoring of your emotions, the honoring of where you're at, knowing where you are, where you want to go, trusting in it, and moving in that. And I want to continue to dig deeper into this because I feel like this is where the healing is going to come for a lot of folks, for the collective in general, is that we must be able to see ourselves. And I have this tattoo in my hand, and people are always asking me, like, what do you have that evil eye? And it's not an evil eye. It actually is the eye of Horus, the eye of Heru. And it calls us to think and move and breathe and live with our pineal gland, our inner eye, our third eye, our first eye is what I like to call it. And when we're seeing ourselves with our first eye or our third eye, however, our inner eye, that's a whole different experience. And that, many ways, can only be achieved through meditation, through sitting with yourself in silence. And when you start to see who you are and know who you know what you will not tolerate, you know what you expect for yourself, and you have really, really sound, firm boundaries around how you show up in the world, whether in romantic relationships, in business partnerships, in family life. You know exactly who you are and what you stand for and what you don't stand for. And that really starts to get into the value of yourself. The value of yourself comes with the care for yourself. As you begin to care for yourself more, you begin to value yourself more. Other people get to see your value more. I get all these messages all the time. I'm gonna probably post one too about people who are like, Erin, I see your light. I see how you're growing. And you know why? Because I value myself more. I see my worth more deeply. I love myself more completely. And the more you're starting to do that, the more it starts to show up externally. The vibration precedes the manifestation. So when you're having those thoughts, those high thought vibes about yourself, then it manifests in your life. You look different, you move different, who you interact with shifts, and the relationships that you once tolerated, you no longer tolerate today. So you won't even find yourself in the same types of situations. They're going to show up differently because you're going to have to continue to learn your lessons along the path as you evolve. However, they're going to show up differently for you. And so Miss Risa in the Who the Fuck Did I Marry TikTok video, just going back to that, you can see her growth. I mean, look at her now, the healing work that she's done post divorcing this man and now showing up to tell everybody her story. That's bravery. That's bravery, that's courage, and those are higher emotions. That's a higher level of consciousness. She's not sitting sad, moping, and then doing the same shit again. She didn't learn her lesson and is now sharing it with the world, and it's blessing the collective. Because we all know that there are people out there who have the ability to harm us. But what are you going to do about it? Are you going to allow it? Are you going to keep going with it? Or are you going to say, hey, you know what? I opt out of this. You can continue to live your life, and I will continue to live mine separately. That is not an easy thing to do. And I want to acknowledge that for everyone. It sounds okay. Yeah, it sounds easy. Even listening to her story, oh, why she didn't just know that he was a scammer and just leave him? Because there is a lot tied up in it, particularly our emotions and our feelings of self worth and value. And this is the piece that is the healing for the collective. We must take control of our emotions. We have to acknowledge our worth and our value and cultivate it daily. And the more that we do that, the more that it will manifest in our own being and the beings around us. And we can collectively begin to heal and treat each other better, have better relationships, have more transparency, have more honesty, have more truth. That's the word for real. Just be honest. Tell me who you are. Tell me what you need. You don't have to scam me to get it. You don't have to rob me. You don't have to lie to me. What do you want? And that's something that I believe that more people need to have the courage to say and do in these relationships, myself included. I want to be clear. Let's have clarity here. Let's have honesty here. Let's have truth here. We are here to support each other, not take advantage of each other. This is what human beings have been called to do in this day and time. Business, as we've done it in the past, is no longer compatible with the future. We don't need to rob, steal, scam people to get over, to win. That's not a winning journey. That's a losing journey. And, sadly, this kind of behavior has been acceptable in business, in relationships, in so many ways. We just allowed it. We just allowed lies. We just allowed betrayal as a means of getting ahead. It doesn't work anymore. And this is why the story has blown up, because we all see it and know it. Where is the truth? We feel the truth in her. We feel the truth in our own experiences. And now we need to be able to have the courage to speak it, to share it, to support each other in it. And, I'm really feeling like this channel is coming to a completion, because this has been such a moment, I believe, just in our own collective existence where we're really calling forth more truth. That's why we're having so many of these various different movements of allowing people to just be. I just want to be me, and I want to be accepted for it. Yet, how do you get there? A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't. And I just want to remind you, the fastest way to get there is through meditation, sitting with yourself, activating that pineal gland, that first eye, that third eye, whatever you want to call it, knowing who you are, knowing what you stand for, knowing your values, knowing what you will, what you won't accept in relationships, romantic, in business, with your colleagues. How will you not be treated? How will I accept treatment? What is respectful for me? What is not respectful for me? You must know these things with full clarity. And the more you begin to know these things more clearly, the more they will manifest in your life. Trust me, I know it. I experience it. I live it. I breathe these principles. And for those of you that want to continue to engage with principles such as these, you need to go ahead and go to my website, www.erinpatten.com. And I have offerings specifically for individuals that really tap into this aspect of knowing of self. I do the one-on-one coaching. I have a digital program. And I also work with organizations, business leaders specifically, that want to try to engender more of this expression of self, this mindset shift in their culture, in their organizations. I do VIP day activations. I also do some vision and values work that really help to amplify that work that we're talking about, that pineal gland, seeing where you want to go, aligning your vision so you can get there more quickly, more soundly, more efficiently, and more in honor of truth in yourself, in your business. And so definitely check out those offerings at erinpatten.com. Also follow me on all social media channels at I am Erin Patten. And the Meta Business Millennial Podcast has its own channel as well and handle as well. So the Meta Business Millennial Podcast. And again, if this really resonated with you, drop me a comment, shoot me a DM. We can talk about it more. I can do another episode around it if this is something that's cool for y'all. But this has been really fun kind of talking about and trying something different, talking about trending topics in social media, in the world, as it relates to metaphysics of who we are, as it relates to business. Because for me, life is business, business is life. It all goes together. There's no separation in my being. I show up the same everywhere. And so there's lessons to be learned in every aspect of our lives that can apply to our businesses, that can apply to us generating wealth, creating wealth for ourselves, our families, and our future. So with that, I thank you all so much for being here. Check in to the next episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast next week. I'm live on Mondays at 10 a.m. Central. I love you all so much. Peace. Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, erinpatten.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light.